What's up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I'm back with another review. First review after the birth of my son. And that was a crazy event in itself. But anyway, I had a moment to stop off the beaten path and pick up these Dollar General G.I. Joe figures. And I like them. I like them for the most part, you know. They have some of them have a lot of flaws. One of them you can actually see right here in the picture, but it's a good thing that you can go to Dollar General and find this kind of stuff, but Hasbro needs to step it up and make the quality a little bit higher, because this is clearly not $6 worth of a figure, you know. And I'm kind of inclined to believe that a lot of the fans don't realize it, and since so many people, they customize, they're not really going to, in reviews, and I've seen a lot of reviews on these, they're not really going to state, you know, that they're not going to tell you the difference between, you know, these versus everything else quality wise. I finally managed to get one more of the I call this squad the Jormungand squad, because they are the commander's secret police, pretty much. They're his personal guard, and they do things behind the scenes. But the Joe Trooper is all right. You know, like I said, there's some issues with him I'll get into. None of them really suffer as far as sculpt, because all the parts are reused parts from previous Joes. But you know, the mixing and matching of parts is successful with some and not as successful with others because of issues with holding their weapons and, you know, little bits and pieces of things like that. But I will say that I like the majority of these guys. I'm not really mad that I bought them. You know, I'm a collector of, I've been collecting Joes for a minute, and I'll find something to do. I do think that I'll find something to do with them. I do think, though, that they are a good jump on point for younger Joe collectors. With that said, the best in the series, in my opinion, Cobra Commander. He's the most complete figure of the bunch. He comes with that sword, he comes with a gun, and he comes with a sheath and a holster to put those things away. Also, the fact that he has the tiniest paint application on his forehead, that's awesome. And his eyes. It's crazy. And they're saying that, you know, they need to cut corners, yet something like that they were able to do. And, you know, having him pretty much be his base body be a Crimson Guard, it throws back to the Crimson Shadows, and I like that. You know, it's kind of cool. I would have liked a couple small paint applications here and there, but, you know, there are uniforms with black buttons and black stripes and, you know, black on black everything. And, you know, as far as the harness or strap and all that, whatever. But this kind of looks more like he's ready to throw down, and he thinks very highly of himself. The holster, it's very nicely done. It looks really old school, you know, very old school, you know, like, I don't know, 80s or maybe even older than that, like World War One, some type of German something, you know, I don't know, like a Luger, you know, whatever, holster. But as you can see, he looks really good amongst his troops. Now, I only wanted 4 of the troops because I had a very specific thing in mind with them, and plus I don't want to go overboard. I think the minimum 2, maximum 6 to 10, and that's it. And I only have 10 of my the Mars troopers. But anyway, as you can see, him and the Jormungand look really good. I shouldn't call them that for the review, but you'll know that in my verse, that's what they're called. They look pretty thorough. Join now. I was impressed with this one. He was actually the first of the bunch that I got, and I figured since it's Cobra Commander, you know, if he sucks, we just take him apart and use his parts to make a new character. And with that in mind, we'll go into talking about his troops. These are just the regular Joe troopers. I'm sorry, Cobra troopers. I don't know why I just said that. Pretty much what they are just repaints of the original Joe troopers using the web gear from the original 25th anniversary. Which trooper was that? Just like a rocket Cobra trooper or something. Because my son has a couple of these, and we've got white web gear, we've got the black web gear with the red on it. You know, we've got all kinds of them. But it's a 25th anniversary Cobra Trooper that had the harness that they're wearing right now. They only come with the AK, and you know, like I said, you can see how much of him is exactly the 25th anniversary Joe Trooper or Cobra Trooper. Now, here's my issue. As you can see, the Cobra Troopers have those legs that have, you know, been famous since Pursuit of Cobra first started. You had Snake Eyes, Stalker, and a ton of other characters, and they have it too, but they don't come with anything in them. So they just gave them an AK and just slapped these legs together and didn't give them anything for them. I mean, luckily, Marauders makes a pack they call the Fix-It pack, which gives you things like you see the canister hanging on my Cobra Trooper. That is part of the Fix-It, you know, squad. I kind of flipped that, you know, switched them out a little bit. But you would think that they would just not put the holster or the sheath if they didn't plan on giving you a sword, a knife, and a gun, and a silencer. I mean, that's not a lot to ask for. I'm actually saying don't give us certain things if you're not going to give us certain things. I was kind of hesitant to get them because I was like, here we go. More troops that look just like or close to troops we already have. Like my shock troopers, I managed to make them all look different just a little bit by changing, you know, their helmets and stuff. But look at how many parts on these guys have been reused. I mean, those arms, the basic head. I mean, not on the shock trooper, but on the regular Cobra Troopers. That the whole upper torso. And then look at the shock trooper having pockets instead of a holster. So it could be done, you know. They just didn't choose to do it. Anyway, I think it's cool. I have extra weapons. I was able to arm all of them. I like the fact, though, that they look perfect with the commander. I mean, that was actually a good choice. I mean, I think the stores right now have other ones that are different colors, but you know, they look really good with the commander. I had to get them. They were actually the ones I wanted the most because I wanted to have 4 of them. Now, the next guy is one of my favorite characters, Storm Shadow. And this is actually the version of Storm Shadow that I played with the most because I had a 12-inch version, the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm talking about, those 12-inch Hall of Fame figures? And he was wearing this costume, kind of. This is a throwback to the Ninja Force days when he was a good guy. The problem with this suit is that it's not exactly accurate. It's missing the shoulder pads, and I think it's missing some of the camo, the little patterning going down into the white. The figure itself is just a reuse of the best ninja body that they've ever made, which is the Ultimate Storm Shadow. Mine has different hands because those hands that they come with that are all nicely sculpted just can't hold things worth a damn. And strangely enough, they didn't give him anything. Like, he comes with the bow and arrow and the sword, and he has nowhere to put them. I mean, you could use that strap and do what I just did there, but it doesn't hold properly. So all you have to do is tap it and it falls apart. And I'm like, every single version of Storm Shadow has come with the 2 swords, a sheath. You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's even Burger King versions of these characters and Happy Meal versions that came with the 2 swords at least. Instead, they give him a bow, no arrow, and a black sword. I'm saying to myself, guys, you know, you clearly have things laying around that you could use to fill the gap for this. I mean, I can't remember the last time a Storm Shadow figure came with, like a single carded Storm Shadow figure came with anything but silver blades. You know, they at least put the paint on that. I mean, even the Red Ninjas came with it. The Ultimate Storm Shadow definitely came with one. I mean, I don't remember, and I could be wrong, but I don't remember any of my ninjas coming with strangely colored blades, you know? Red Ninjas had blades. Yeah, I think I was right. Everybody that I have, just about. Even the figures I didn't like the 25th anniversary Snake Eyes and Hardmaster, they had blades that were painted. So that's what I gave him. I gave him that sword. I figure if you're gonna go that basic, at least give him a sword. And I didn't give him just any sword. If you remember, those swords were actually pretty damn long. So I figured this one will give him a little bit more menace to his look. And you know, it's a throwback to old ninja movies when they used that long ass ninjaka instead of a ninja toe, which is what ninjas actually use. The ninjaka is a weapon. I'm trying to think of other places you've seen it. You see it in cheap movies, and you see it a lot in kung fu movies because it's easier for them to use, and it's fake. It's like a combination between a katana and a straight sword, and I think a little bit of a scimitar, but it's not actually a weapon that was used by ninjas properly. But you see this, it gives him that look. Then I switched one more time. I was like, let me try using those blades that came with the Retaliation Storm Shadow, the single carded one, because they look a little bit more futuristic and they're smaller. They fit the ninja theme a little bit better, you know. I might go back to using the one long, you know, ninja toe, because the one long ninjaka because it just looks a little bit more menacing. Shipwreck, man. Okay, so I like Shipwreck. Always liked him. His character is just funny. My little brother, the one in Jersey, he loves Shipwreck. Whenever we play, that's his dude. Just the fact that he's the loose cannon type, or he's kind of lazy, but he comes through when he needs to. It's cool. But up until recently, he had always been, you know, kind of touted as the sailor and not freaking seal. They started with Rise of Cobra, making him more a seal and less just a sailor, and I like that. So that's why we got scuba gear and a gun and all that, but they left out his fucking flippers. How do you forget that? And it's not like they had to make new flippers. They made them already, because the Rise of Cobra version of the character has those very same, all this gear is the same except for the pistol. The sculpt is awesome. I'm going to get more in detail about his gear, but the sculpt is awesome. I love it. I had to get it. I mean, it's that Snake Eyes figure and the one we always see. But yeah, here we go. Look at the parts. Pretty much the same figure, different motif. Look at how many things he came with. Knife, gun, assault rifle, bird, and your scuba gear. That's a seal. Same face, different paint apps, but you're getting the same effect with him. He even has a belt and all that stuff. And you mean to tell me that for $6 they couldn't just swap that gear? I mean, it just feels like what we're getting is an excuse for them to slack. I mean, there are examples in the assortments that I've seen of stuff for Retaliation where there are weapons in there that have nothing to do with that line. Like there's a Cobra diver, an assault diver or something. It comes with this box full of weapons, and there's a laser cannon in there from 25th anniversary G.I. Joe. I'm like, number one, it's with Cobra. Number two, it's a laser rifle. They don't use that in the modern shit, you know? It's just weird. And in this, obviously, since those legs are the legs that we've seen on so many other figures, there is supposed to be a holster there, you know? Usually it's followed by a sheath for the knife. If you're not going to put the holster, why just leave that there? Now, as you're looking at this picture, do you see it's the same exact set of legs, at least upper thigh, you know, up to the knee, and then the lower legs are different. Why was it necessary to, like, cheap us like that when you could have just put the freaking holster there? So I'm working on a holster myself, because I think it's kind of stupid to jip us like that and make the figure look incomplete when he had this thing to begin with, you know? So I can't give them the kind of props that I want to give them, because, you know, I like Shipwreck, but I don't like the lack of attention to detail with this particular portion of the figure. And the same thing goes for, you know, giving him scuba gear and no flippers, and the man's diving in boots. The Joe Trooper, or First Sergeant Duke. I'm going to get one thing out of the way really quick. Just looking at this guy, that's not Duke. It's clearly Dusty. Pursuit of Cobra Dusty. and why they felt the need to like switch his head and you know, paint him a different color and all this shit, when they actually have made several Duke figures and they could just reuse the head. I mean, we know Hasbro is all about reusing parts, you know? So why not just reuse your old Duke Pursuit of Cobra head, since that's the closest to a modern Duke face that we've had, or even a Resolute Duke? I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, look at that. That is freaking Dusty. It's the exact same fucking head. Different complexion, different paint on the hair, but it's the same fucking head. When I was reading and watching reviews, no one was pointing this stuff out. I mean, look at that. That's two modern Dukes that they could have just switched that head and put it on there. If you really wanted to be old school, take the 25th anniversary Duke head, put it on that. But instead, they didn't. So that's an annoyance, because I just buy this shit, you know? But, you know, as a standalone figure, it's one of the better ones, because overall, it's a basic soldier. So if you want a bunch of basic soldiers, he's very basic. Almost too basic. They gave him the AK, gave him the Beretta, and you're like, okay, cool. His straps look cool, the Beretta looks cool. But then you'll notice as you move downward on the figure, he's got a holster with no fucking gun. What is the deal with creating figures where you don't give us shit and then you tell us that something should go there? You know? Cut that shit off. Save yourself the money. Now, I made a custom using one of these guys. I made a female Joe Trooper. She's actually pretty important in the story that I'm working on. I kept the belt, well, a different belt, because I used Lady J as the base. 25th anniversary Lady J. Gave her different weaponry, of course, but the lower arms belong to the Joe Trooper. The legs belong to the Joe Trooper. The head belongs to Queen Amidala. What I'm trying to show you, though, is like what Hasbro is probably banking on, and I don't understand why they don't do this themselves. You can see that I took a good chunk of what they already made and used it to make just a variation on something they already have. I mean, look at the colors, they match, the whole nine. But I gave her a pistol. Now, considering not every kid has a shitload of Joes in the first place, it doesn't really make sense to me that we are forced to finish all these things for Hasbro. That pisses me off. We're paying them to do us a service. They should do us the freaking service. Stop bullshitting with us. You know what I'm saying? It's just not right. I might change the backpack and use one of my big white rescue packs, but this is what I did with what I had at the time, because I didn't feel like digging through all my stuff. I wanted to just quickly make this custom, see how she stacks up. So you got a thick G.I. Joe, female G.I. Joe Trooper. Hasbro should be doing this already. But as you can see, the Joe Trooper as a figure, it's not bad. It's pretty much a 25th anniversary figure. I want to say like Steeler or somebody. I think he had this body, and he has a different set of web gear and whatnot. But overall, he's a pretty good figure. You know, it's a good base. You could make a lot of things out of him. You shouldn't have to, but you could. It would be nice if they gave you varieties of these guys, where you got one that was, you know, Hispanic, so he had like a dark tan. One that was Asian, you know, so he had that yellowish kind of tan to him. Or even the darker skin, but you want to differentiate them. So he has that Asian tone. A black or brown skinned soldier, you know. Native American, that darkened, almost, you know, like Airborne and Spirit have. That would make sense. I kind of want to see what the repaint of this guy is going to look like. I haven't looked them up. I just know that recently the repaints have started hitting Marshalls, and we'll see what they look like. But like I said, he's not a bad figure, and it's cool that they gave you troops, you know, because remember what I told you. If I ran Hasbro, there would always be a wave of nothing but troops. This wave should have been all troops, in my opinion, because the remakes of most of the characters are kind of just meh, except for Cobra Commander. Cobra Commander was actually a decent kind of basic update, you know. He just looks a little bit tougher and a little bit more hardcore. Whereas all the other guys just look like, meh, it's just another version of the figure. But there's so much troop building potential with this guy. And you got to make sure you got extra pistols so you can put one in his leg, or just chop that freaking holster off. But that's pretty much the assortment. Now, I left out Snake Eyes because everybody has a fucking Snake Eyes toy. And that new one, I mean, nostalgia aside, it didn't look that great. A lot of people will say, that's the one I grew up with. Actually, be real. That's the one that was part of what killed G.I. Joe. And I'm not even going to front. I didn't really dig Ninja Force that much. My little brother, actually, he liked that Snake Eyes. But then he liked the next one because the 12-inch one was different. But if they fail, if the Joes start failing, it brings me to this point right here, because this is why I think they're going to fail. That is an SIC Super Imaginative Chokogen FIs, Kamen Rider 555. Originally, when these guys came out, these are the 3 3/4 inch figures. That's all his accessories. 3 of those parts go on his belt and, you know, are interchangeable with other parts. This figure went for $11 when it first came out. Now they go for about 15 to 20 bucks. But $11 for all that and that figure. The figure has double jointed knees. He has swivel wrists. He even has that like pivot on his ankle, a slight one. He has double jointed elbows, which is something that it seems like we just will never get out of Joe. He has the triple jointed core, so he can waist swivel. Then he has the diaphragm tilt, you know, and then the two move together so you can actually get some decent poses. But, you know, looking at him and looking at the amount of detail, this is a reimagining of the character in the show at 3 3/4 inch scale. And look, there's no G.I. Joe that I can find with this kind of detail that costs $10 anymore. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I'm gonna be going back to these figures if Hasbro drops the ball anymore. You know, it's frustrating to me that I look at this and I'm just like, man. I mean, I had to get this guy. He's my favorite Kamen Rider, and just that suit and the design and all the little details. It's just like you'd have to be like, something would really have to be wrong with you to not appreciate that. And look at how he holds Joe weapons. You see, like, all the crap going on, all the armor going on, none of that shit falls off. Everything moves out of the way so you can do what you need to do. And look at him holding a rifle the proper way. And this is also a $10 figure. Now, I know that the Dollar General figures are $6 at Dollar General. But what I'm saying is G.I. Joe uses a base body. So forget the accessories. The base of the body should be able to do some certain things. And some of the figures in this assortment, they don't do it right. And I'm saying to myself, what are they trying to tell us that because we paid $6 and we bought them at Dollar General, we don't deserve a certain level of quality? I mean, it's just food for thought, you know, because a lot of people just keep saying to me, oh, I love them. I just love them. But you don't know why you love them. And you've gotten in a habit of buying them because they've always been there. But, you know, I see the brand fucking up unless the movie is awesome. So, you know, like I said, if this movie flops, which I'm almost, you know, I'm kind of leaning in that direction. I think it's going to flop because, I mean, Roadblock was not a ninja, and a lot of true fans, they will realize that that is kind of bogus and they might just get tired of it. But, you know, if you're a Joe fan and you customize, this is worth it for you. If you're a Joe fan that has some kids, you could either buy these because they're in stores now so they can go to the store and leave with a toy, or you could just buy a 25th anniversary figure off of like Amazon or eBay or something. I mean, you'd probably pay less money and you get more in the box so the kid could feel like, you know, he's kind of taking part in what you got going on with your collection. So, you know, that's how I feel about these guys. The Shipwreck, it kind of pisses me off because the gun doesn't clip on that little space. The Storm Shadow just needs a little work as far as weapons storage and whatnot. If you have more storm shadows, you can fix that. The guards, the troopers, they just need extra pistols and knives. And that's really it. Articulation wise, all of them except for the freaking Joe Trooper have the hidden swivel in their hands, and everything else is standard Joe articulation. So if you see them all and you have the extra money and you have the patience and you have the extra stuff to use to get this done and you customize, pick them up. If you're not into customizing, I say only pick up maybe Storm Shadow and Cobra Commander, and then wait for other, releases. All right, guys. My name's Strident, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I will see you with the next review. Peace outside, people.